I'm Lisa Walton and welcome to Quilt Stories. Today we're talking to Sue Benner, who's in Texas, hunkered down as we all are, and she's going to tell us about these amazing quilts which are self-portraits, and they're just gorgeous, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the story. So welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Lisa. It's so nice to see you.
I know, it's good fun, isn't it? The world is getting to be so small these days with all this technology. These are two amazing quilts, Sue. I'm assuming it's your wedding photo quilt, and then how you see yourself as an older woman, but you don't look that old to me. So the first slide I thought was really interesting. I'm not quite sure why we're looking at this photo of this artwork, because I don't think that's yours, is it?
It's not mine. And I wanted to show this slide because this is actually the time-lapse video that I shot. And the camera setup is the tripod, a timer that took a photograph every 30 seconds or every 60 seconds. And then that photography wall is the wall that's actually right behind me now. And you can see I have a makeshift light and a ladder there. But that piece of fabric has a story. It's a sheet. I've cut it down to the size that I wanted to make the self-portrait. I was teaching in Germany one year, and a woman in my class gave me this sheet, and this printed woman on it is by an artist named Mira Fujita. She is a Japanese lyricism artist, and it kind of recalls the what we remember as the big eye paintings from the 1960s in the United States. Also, maybe even a precursor to manga. So, but this was done in the 1980s, and she was a famous artist and illustrator in Japan. And then she really did a lot of work and lived for a good long time in Paris. And here you see this, WTG is the printing company for the sheet. And this woman in my class gave this to me and said, I think you need this sheet. You could do something with this. So I took it back to my studio and I put it away and got it out periodically and thought, what the heck am I going to do with this? But it reminded me of myself, my wedding picture. Isn't that hilarious? Whoever thought a perm was a good idea? But
I spent the 70s all permed up. My husband couldn't believe it when I finally grew out my perm, and he went, oh, you don't have curly hair. No.
So this is 1987. So that is actually very soon after that sheet was copyrighted, right? The poof in my hair with the flowers in it. Look at the flower that you can see. That's probably on my dad's jacket in the background there. And I thought, isn't that funny? That is kind of like me when I got married, and I drew that connection. And then it just so happened that the group that I belonged to from the UK, Through Our Hands, which was a quilt group that is no longer in existence, but it was Laura and Linda Kemschel and Annabelle Rainbow. And there was also a magazine. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I'm a great fan of the Kemschels. I love their work.
So they put together a portrait show for Festival of Quilts. So I actually did this. This became a video, and I actually did this for that exhibition. And then I later quilted the quilts and finished the whole project. So that's kind of the evolution of how this all came about. And I thought, I'm going to find that sheet and I'm going to create a self-portrait of myself as a bride. And then we were having our 30th anniversary, and I had turned 60 a couple of years before that. So, you know, it was thinking a lot about aging. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do one 30 years later. So it was called 3262, my ages. And then one was going to be Portrait as Bride, and one was going to be self-portrait Age Progressed.
I must admit, you're the only 60-plus-year-old I know that wears miniskirts well.
Well, thank you. I took my photograph of me as a bride at 32, ran it through some filters to get some more graphic versions of it to think about translating it into fabric. And I did the same thing with that image of the sheep with the idealized woman on it with the big eye. I then superimposed them in Photoshop to see how they related. And I did them both with her, Mira Fujita's image over me, and me, in case of this, over her. But even in this part of the exploration of this project, I realized there was such an interesting comparison between the idealized female and the real female. And here you can see the lineup of the poof in my hair is almost perfect. And you can see the image of the sheep kind of coming through that. So now this is actually a outtake from the video, the time-lapse video. And I have my wedding dress on the left there. That's actually, there was a slip that went under it. The pictures of me, and then the sheet, the size I was going to work, trimmed down, and actually quilt batting behind that, and my iron to the right. And then what I did was I wrote things on a sketchbook. And that was how I added words to my video. And so I wanted to give Mira Fujita credit. So this is how I did it. I just had fun adding funny sayings during the whole time, like little aside comments, whatever came to my brain, I would just throw in there, and those are included in the final video. After this, I gridded the whole canvas, and here you can see that in this close-up with colored pencil.
Okay, so that's underneath. Oh, you actually gridded onto the sheet.
I gridded right onto the sheet, and the entire surface of it is gridded. And then I started using my fused applique or fused collage technique, which every piece, you can just assume that almost every piece of fabric that I'm putting up there has fusible, Wonder Under, Misty Fuse, perhaps soft fuse. I use a number of different types, and on the back side so that it's ready to glue, ready to iron, and I can just cut whatever shape I want. And I've covered up part of her hair with that animal print collage, and now I'm trying to study with these paper cutouts of my mouth and my nose and my teeny little eyes and the pink. See those teeny little eyes? And I think this is an interesting comparison of what a real face is like versus that hyper stylized and idealized female face. So this is where it gets bizarre.
Yes.
So just by covering up her eyebrows, she started to be mad at me. And I thought, isn't this bizarre? I've changed her whole expression just by collaging on top of the forehead and outlining a different jawline. And then I'm building up the hair. And you can see that I'm letting the flowers still show through a bit. But she almost got a scowl on her face.
You've made her happier now.
And this is showing that I actually finally came up with the solution of drawing my face on release paper or parchment paper, tracing my face and collaging sections of it right on the drawing.
And your eyes are much bigger too now.
Well, they're actually, you wait till you see when they go in, they're actually as big as those pink little eyes are. And I also made my teeth yellow. So
why?
They're really the color of my teeth. That's the way they are. But people said, oh, well, how come you didn't give yourself a brighter smile? I was like, well.
A third eye.
So as I'm doing this and this camera is going off every 30 seconds, I am just having the time of my life and, saying, oh my God, what can I do with these bits and pieces? So I've got one of my eyes in, one of her eyes, my mouth, and my other eye is the third eye. And trying out some parts of the dress. And I've started to add some of the curls in my hair. And this just, I went back and forth in various parts of this and just kept building up the surface. And then I would always keep moving the pieces off, those pieces that I had collaged on that release paper. And there's that mouth on my chest. And I'd pin them to the side to get them out of the way so that I could fill out the shading on face and the neck. And then I realized how funny that looked. And here I am with my eye.
So they're definitely life size or a little bit bigger, aren't they?
Well, these girls behind me are about 1.5 times life size.
Oh, your wedding dress.
I recreated that with everything. I refused to go out and buy any new fabric for this project. So I just started pulling stuff out of bins. And my wedding dress was some embroidered lace, and it was over a white slip. But I made the patterns in the lace out of this black and white fabric and tried to imitate it. And then I laid a sheer fabric over it. And I just made up techniques in order to do this. And then the necklace is actually my grandmother's crystal necklace. So I recreated that in fabric as well. You'll see that I didn't have to actually cut up my wedding dress.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. I
And
think one of the joys of the work that we do is the problem solving. And I can see that this was just like one big problem. And like every step of it for you was a challenge to recreate. And I think it would have been a really interesting mental exercise in your head.
And I'm really glad you mentioned that because I love problem solving. And that exercise of what if I do this? What if I do that? How could I even imagine how to do this? And what can I pull out? And what can substitute for this? And I mean, all of that stuff is so exciting to me. And it really is a good deal of what drives me in my work. After I finished the collage of myself as the bride, that I would take a high resolution photograph of it and then send it off to Spoonflower, get a full size print made of it on fabric, obviously. And here I am holding the print. The collage is in back of me. So that's what this picture is of.
Three of you, all in one.
Right.
So we're in a field.
The idea I had for me at 62 was to show as many aspects of my aging and my passions and my personality or what, in the 62 age progressed quilt. So I am a big walker. So one of my walking friends took this picture of me in a field, and fields and prairies are my thing. So that's why I'm there. And then, but that was too far away. So she took a series of photographs of me close up. And here I am with my, look at that, QSDS t-shirt on by Diane Hughes. I thought I am going to change a few things. Obviously I didn't want the car in the background, but I love the tree line and I love the grasses. But my flower that I use as a symbol often is a sunflower. So I thought, well, I'm going to put sunflowers in instead of Queen Anne's lace. And here, this is a very simple filter over it to get the basic shape. And I took a whole other series of self-portraits in my studio to get different lighting, to get slightly different angles on my face, etc. And then I thought, when I saw this, I thought, well, I'm going to wear a black lace dress because that's the opposite of a white lace wedding dress. So I had a sort of the uniform black lace dress that I wore that year. And I wore that, and that was going to be my dress for this portrait in the field of sunflowers. Actually, what we're seeing now is we're seeing the second quilt with the surface made of the print that I got at Spoonflower.
All right.
So I made another quilt canvas with the spoon flower. Instead of the Mira Fujita sheet, now it's the spoon flower print as the base for the collage.
So that they'd be the same sort of size and
Yes, I had it
presentation.
printed exactly the same size. I gridded it in the same grid that I did the other one, so I'd know how that would match up. And
Mhm.
then I started doing the same type of collage over the top of the spoonflower print. And here you can see, oh, and by the way, I'm creating my signature sky. This is a sky that I have used over and over again in my work with these diagonal clouds, puffy clouds. So that was
Mhm.
another thing that I built in. And
Mhm.
here you see me in my wedding dress, but I have most of the background completed. And I decided to let the flowers that were in the original sheet still show through in the field and the sky.
Oh,
And you can see my hair is shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. I no longer have a perm, and I've lost quite a bit of hair as I've gotten older, and I'm really self-conscious about it. So that
oh, heaven.
So that was one of the things I wanted to do, was kind of deal with that issue as one of the aspects of aging. So I'm continuing to cover up my hair. And then I made my glasses out of fabric and I put them on my younger self. So that was really fun to do. And I thought, well, those glasses look pretty good on her. So, and then in the next slide, you can see that I now have a drawing of the former me, the bride me, on the left with the 62-year-old me superimposed with the grid on it. And that's what I'm going to now work from. And you can see the grid that's drawn on my face on the right. You can see
Yeah.
that pink grid. And I've started to cover up the nose. So that nose is going to be my new nose. Again, those glasses, this is sort of the last look at what's going to change about the face. So now comparing me, and I realize how much fun I'm having here. I've got the pieces of my face on the right hanging in the sky, my glasses hanging in the sky, and my dress on the left. And I've created my dress on my body on the quilt. And now I'm thinking, okay, here goes. I'm going to cover her up and I'm going to have to, just like I had to say goodbye, I'm going to start to say goodbye to the old me. This is so bizarre to me, but I just love how weird it got. That's my smile from before. The parts of
Mhm.
my face are still on the right. I've got my kind of gruesome neck there. I've drawn in those deep lines on my face. And then the eyes. Well, the eyes were a weird story because I thought, well, I have to make new eyes for my new portrait. But I made them, and because my glasses magnify my eyes, they were too big and they just were super bizarre. What I decided to do was let the eyes from the print show through instead. So I took
Okay.
these eyes out.
So that's why you've got a pair of eyes in your hands.
That's why I have these eyes. I have them left over.
I guess because the eyes don't change, do they?
Well, I think they kind of get covered up, they get squintier and maybe baggier and that, but my eyes, I found that I really could use them. But the your glasses, if you're farsighted like I am and have the reading glasses stuff, this actually magnifies your eyes somewhat. And so it was
Yeah.
really better to go back to those old size eyes.
Look like you're having a facelift.
I know. I kept having to try to do different things to get my face to work out right. So there were several times in the process that I went back, covered it with release paper, drew things again, got the positions right, looked at my drawings, measured everything off, reworked the mouth, discarded the eyes, and then came back and went for it.
I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself here.
This is like Sue Benner meets Frida Kahlo. And I purposely wanted to emphasize the effects of aging. I took the things that were there in my face and I exaggerated them. I made her a little cadaverous, and but all of this was so fun.
Good. Got our glasses on now.
Yeah. So now she can finally see again. And I added the sunflowers in the field. I added the wispy hair that's blowing in the breeze. And I was really happy to see that I could pull this off because I really didn't know if I could. And those now are the same eyes, and they look quite different in this
Mm,
setting. But those
they
are the
do.
same eyes that are the actual spoonflower prints that are
Okay.
showing through. And then I put together the exhibit and the video, and that was one thing. Then the next year, I came back and I actually quilted them. So we call this getting a little dental work done.
Is
And
it is it strange quilting in a face?
oh, yeah,
Mm.
I kept feeling like I was stabbing myself, you know. So this one I had to, she was so much like me, so I laid down with her.
Oh, I think she's much more severe than you. You have definitely put in lines that I would say are not your current face. I would say another 10 years.
I purposely left the edges raw and I left the numbers. I numbered, I did the typical gridding thing when you blow an image up, where you number something from 1 to 10, and then the other side was A to Z or whatever, A to G. And you can actually see those numbers and letters when you're up close around the edge.
Hmm.
I just let the quilting float off the edge and left them a little unfinished and left the process showing rather than tidying it all up.
Close up of the quilting.
And all of the colors I got to put in that face.
Quite a lot. I mean, when you look at it like that and you think, oh, the purples and the pinks and the
Mhm.
skin tones and everything, it's just creating the shadows. It's great.
And I've shown these a couple of times. Oh, by the way, those are my grandmother's earrings as well.
Oh, lovely. So you haven't put any tulle or anything over the top. You've just
Yeah,
stitched straight down.
yeah, I just stitched right over it. For me, there is actually that spotted tulle that is over the wedding dress, but that's different. That was because I
Yeah,
wanted to create the effect of lace. But I
yeah.
don't usually use any tulle over the surface.
And here we have your beautiful young self.
Yes, and we're still married.
Even better. That's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing the video, the time-lapse video, and there is a link to that in the description box, along with all Sue's social media accounts and contact details. Absolutely adore seeing something come out from your thoughts in your head, from one idea to grow into another, and then to do your aged self, I think is really brave. And you don't look anything like that at all. You actually sitting there in the middle. That's where you are. You're not there yet. It's just it's really lovely. I've really enjoyed this, Sue. So thank you so much. It's been great.
Well, Lisa, thank you for asking me to do this. And I really appreciate being able to tell this story. And I really just love the idea of this age progression. And it's something that, we all have to deal with if we manage to live that long. So thanks for talking to me about it.
My pleasure. And if you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll click on the subscribe button down below or the thumbs up to make sure that I feel inspired to make more. And I'm just so enjoying learning about these amazing quilts and getting to talk to incredible artists as well. So I want to thank you again, and it's been great. And bye for now. So bye, everyone.
Bye bye.